Hello, everybody. Today, our topic is purpose, and I'm talking with my friend and healer, Sabrina Piergrossi. So happy to have you here today, Sabrina.
I'm so happy to be here. You have no idea.
So, when I think of you, I see someone that's really living their purpose. And I know that that's something that a lot of people struggle with. I know that that's like the number one thing that people see therapists for and healers for and ask Oprah about. And what am I doing here? Do I have a purpose? How do I live it? And when I think about it, I see you and I see you living your purpose. So I would love for you to share how you, there's so many facets. Some of it is how you know you're living your purpose. And then how you kind of got to your purpose. So I know you as an energy healer and a shaman, but I know you didn't start that way, 20, 30 years ago. So if you can just describe kind of your journey, if you knew while you were on the path that you were like everything was getting to your purpose or you already were living your purpose, that's kind of the stuff that I want to dig around in your brain a little bit with today.
Wonderful. Great. Let's see what happens. And I just want to say that I was just saying to you earlier before we went live that I haven't prepared anything because that's my style. So let's see what channels through me.
Great.
And for people who don't know me, I yawn a lot when I'm feeling something, when something deeply resonates for me, and I can feel it, like I just want to yawn the whole time. So I'm not falling asleep on anyone. I just want to clarify that. People are wondering. And then we begin. So I think your questions are really, really good questions, actually. And there's so many things I want to say to this. One of the things that came to my mind as you were speaking is often as really young children, we're already actually living in purpose, funnily enough. And it's almost like we forget, we fall asleep. And sometimes when we start reconnecting with those parts as we go on this journey, we remember, oh yeah, that's what I felt or saw or knew when I was really little. And this isn't true for everybody, but like I remember as a little girl looking up at the stars and seeing the vastness of the universe and just feeling the oneness of all that is, and just knowing at some level, even though not consciously, but knowing very clearly that I came from there and that I was here for something big. So in a way I did know, even though I didn't know with my mind. So there's something about the innocence of children where before we start getting really conditioned, where we're just being our joyful, playful, creative, unique selves, right? Nobody tells us to do that. We just are that. But then very early on, this starts constricting, this starts adapting. We start adapting to what we perceive to be what we need to do to be loved and accepted and included in the tribe, because developmentally, that's the most number one thing, is to be loved and to be included. We cannot survive if we're not included and accepted and loved. And it's 11:11 right now where I am when I just said that. It's like our number one priority is connection before anything else. And so what happens is that we start living our life sacrificing our purpose for connection, sacrificing our true selves for connection, whatever we can get, whatever scraps we can get. And some of us have had a lot of trauma, some of us have had less trauma, but we've all had some form of trauma around disconnecting from our true authentic selves to some degree. And I guess I see this developmentally. What I see is we come into this world with the fullness of who we are. Children just are, right? In the beginning, they're not self-conscious. Then they start being self-conscious, conscious of self, conscious of other. They start figuring out there are rules that I have to kind of follow if I'm going to get A, B, C, or D. And some don't do that. Some remain that rebellious kid and they get labeled difficult. Okay, and so we keep going. But even those kids still feel there's a sacrifice involved. If I'm going to be true to myself and my purpose, which I'll say a bit more what I mean by that in a minute, it's too much for other people. Like it's inconvenient, or I won't be loved, or some version of that. And so we kind of lose connection with that. And then at some point when we kind of reawaken or step on a personal development journey of some kind, we start longing for those parts of us that we shunned or that we decided were not lovable or inconvenient or brought us trouble. And this is also because we're tuned into a deeper sense of love. The older we get, we're trying to tune into another sense of love rather than that conditional love. So I think that is part of what's pushing our longing for purpose. It's also our longing for love, as in true unconditional love. So those two, I feel, go together. And often, so I guess I'm talking generally now, but to answer your question about me personally, I feel like at a very young age, at some level, it wasn't a conscious thought process, but at a soul level, I knew. Okay. And then I sacrificed and forgot myself to survive. And then I got sick. So many people have some kind of event, whether it's a sickness or a loss of some kind, or, divorce or some kind of breakdown, where they're forced to confront this, especially those of us who have come here with a very clear purpose. Something in life smacks us in the face. So I got sick early at 17, and this is often an initiation for someone who's a healer or a shaman of some kind of sickness, because it kind of forces us into confronting, our body forces us to look at stuff we can't run away. So, but I wasn't conscious at that point that was part of my purpose. I just thought, well, this is shit.
Thanks.
It's not all unicorn and rainbows, people. So when did I figure that out? I'm not quite sure. That's the other thing. It's like, it's not like, until the 12th of April, 19 bloody, I didn't know about my purpose. And then from the 13th onwards, I did. It's like, it's a journey. Like, there isn't a point until you realize, and I think this is the thing maybe that you were mentioning earlier, is there never is a time when we are not living our purpose.
Right.
Because even the forgetting of the purpose is part of the purpose.
Yes.
Like, the forgetting of ourselves is how we remember ourselves. For whatever reason, this is how we've chosen to live this weird game on earth. And so wherever we are in this moment is part of why the hell we're here, if we choose it to be. I mean, that's one possible way of looking at it. I'm not saying this is the way, but I guess a lot of what I feel a lot with this whole purpose thing is a lot of people feel like, oh, when I get to that point, where the day that I finally get to living my purpose, as if it's somewhere in the future, like as if you have to tick some boxes to get there. And so that keeps us constantly in that not enoughness or lacking, or somehow, this thing that we have to achieve or do. And if we don't do, we've missed our chance. And the whole point of purpose is, I feel, it's about undoing. It's about stripping the layers of all the shit we never were, all that conditioning. And then the more we strip, the more natural, organically, who we really are starts emerging, and our natural gifts, our essence of our soul, as well as the higher essence of our personality aspects that make us so uniquely us that there's no one else on this planet exactly like us. And then we manage to actually utilize those aspects of the personality, no longer in a conditioned way, but in a way that is expansive, where we just have to shine and be that. And that is the purpose that comes from the being. And then the action naturally stems from that. The idea for something in the physical realm might stem from that. But it has to come from that energetic place. It's not enough to do the thing if we haven't accessed that emotional, energetic quality of that expansion that can only come from first constriction, contraction, and then the kind of journey of opening beyond that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget the day that we were just in a small circle and you had said that we're all living our purpose right now. And I was like, wait, what? I don't need to stay awake at night asking, God or spirit or angels to be like, show me what I'm supposed to be doing here. I am doing it. And this thing between doing and being is what I'm exploring right now a lot. How do you be not things that that you do.
Yeah.
And if it is inside of you, if it is your purpose, if you be that, it can be unconscious, you know, like I think you tap into the unconscious to see kind of what's like, what the waves of things you're feeling and why stuff's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's being and it's inside you and you're in existence, then you are living your purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can note the calendar date because I think it was I'm just kidding. Maybe a year or two ago. I forget that you said that. And it really did change the way I looked at it, because I know that that's a lot of people's struggle is, you know, what's my purpose? Am I doing it? Do I have one? And it's so refreshing to know that you're doing, like, you are it.
Just being in this world, just being you. The imperfect version, if you want to use that word, which is such a weird word because, you know, what does perfection even mean? You know, it's just being in that unformed, still forming state, ever forming, ever evolving. It's also not fixed. You know, and our mind wants to fix it into something, wants to pin it down, because it's that fear of the unknown, of the void, of the formless. And actually, the paradox is that the more we become comfortable with the formless and uncertainty and unknown, the more our purpose emerges clearer and the less attached we are to it. That's the other paradox. So we're no longer trying to do our purpose. It does us, and we are the vehicle for source to do it through the unique lens that we are. And we're no longer in charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And paradoxically, we have more energy for it in that state. And we can actually be more focused.
Right. Because then you really are being, you're not doing. Yeah.
Exactly. We're less attached. And again, it's being us, because the purpose is something bigger than our individual selves. And at the same time, it's living through our unique individual selves. And so the self, the ego, likes to, you know, get in the way of it all and get stuff from it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's funny. That's been a theme already, just a few episodes of naming things, like this labeling, naming. You know, I think when people think about purpose, they might think of a title, like a job title or a profession title that they're going after. And that is another way that our ego is attached to a label and a name that might not necessarily be the, you know, and of course the funny thing too is like, okay, you get that title and then you're not fulfilled.
So then that's usually a good sign that the title isn't.
Yeah, then you can start to break down the illusion of that was kind of the summit of where you were going to go in your life.
Totally. And so many, like, our purpose has got nothing to do with our job. Like, we might choose to do a job that is aligned with our purpose. Amazing. But purpose is beyond that. It's in my opinion anyway, it's just our essence, our energy of who we are in the world. And we can be in the world totally unconsciously, or we can be in the world on purpose. So those are the words that came through to me when you suggested saying purpose. It's like, oh yeah, what does it mean to live our purpose? Oh, it means to live on a purpose, which might sound paradoxical to what I said earlier, where we're letting go of attachment to outcome, but it's both. Everything's a paradox. So it's like living on purpose, but then not. But again, letting it live us, letting life live us. It sounds maybe completely contradictory, but that's how it feels to me. And when I say on purpose, I mean alive, like in our fullness. And most of us are going around half dead, half ghost. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just part of the human experience. It's okay. And the more we can love that and understand that and be present to that, we step into our fullness to ourselves.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the job thing, because that is such a trap, that your job title and your job is your purpose.
Because it's almost like, oh, while I'm working in corporate, I can't really live my purpose. Like, that's another illusion.
Right. And that you can't bring maybe your spiritual side or your energy to a corporate place of work, even if you have a uniform on, I think you can still come up with your personal expression, and yourself will come through.
Completely. And if it isn't, it's just the reflection of all our conditioning and our fears of doing that. And it's an opportunity, if we want to choose that trigger to show us, okay, how can I heal and release all of those blocks and be more present in this job as I am, whatever happens. And then often what happens, the universe will then bring you in, bring things into your life that are in alignment with that energy. So either your environment changes in response to you, or they fire you. Great. It's like, okay, universe, right. What's next? It's like, okay, so that's not along in alignment. What's next?
Right.
But that's scary. Like, to do that means surrendering to the unknown. Like, that is the hardest path ever. But it's also what I think life prompts us into that. Like, life is pushing us into that. That's what's happening on the planet right now. Like, life is pushing the whole planet into uncertainty and unknown.
Yeah, I think the more kind of like breaks you get, or the more where like stuff's hit, like you're like, the more walls you're hitting, the more opportunities you're given. Like, it's more times the universe is like, okay, you hate your job, I'm gonna fire you. Like, okay, you hate where you live, you're gonna have to move. Like, you hate your relationship, like, he's gonna break up with you. Like, of course it is very painful in the moment.
Yes.
But there is something about just surrendering to it and trusting it. I just had my talk last week with my friend Rachel about surrendering, and I admitted that that's the scariest thing. Like, out of all the I don't know, work that you could be doing on yourself, surrendering is number one.
That's so true. That's so true. And when you can admit that, that's in itself surrendering. You're surrendering to the toughness of surrender.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting it to come up in a conversation about purpose. But that
it feels like that's what it is. Like, we're surrendering into our purpose.
Right.
We're not trying to go and catch it. It's like, okay, this is purpose. Like, I'm going to stop resisting what's flowing, what's wanting to flow through me. And the only way to do, you mentioned pain, the only way to do that is to embrace pain.
Yeah, so you need the pain.
I think so. I don't know if we will always need pain. I think we're evolving into a place where maybe that might not be necessary, but I guess let's put it this way, I'm not saying chase the pain, but if the pain is showing up, how are you relating to that pain? It's not even you need the pain, it's more everything is an opportunity to look at how are we relating to it and therefore ourselves.
Right. And this reminds me of, the people that are walking around half dead. I remember seeing a meme a couple of years ago that was like, have you taken a breath yet today? Like, are you breathing today?
That's why I yawn a lot, actually, I think, as well. Like, my body's like, encouraging me to breathe. Yeah.
Because if you're conscious enough to be breathing, then you're probably conscious enough to realize that there are emotions coming up, that you're having a reaction, because it's so easy, I think, to numb or ignore what those signs are in our bodies or in our lives.
Yes.
So just like breathing is the way to just like connect again to your
totally. And also, I just want to say, for those who are feeling numb, to just start by giving yourselves permission to feel numb, because that's the other thing, is that we can really fight it and beat ourselves up over all of this. And the numbness is there for a reason, and it needs love just as much as everything. Love, curiosity, tenderness. Like, oh, what is this interesting feature? Oh, let's observe it a bit closer. Let's listen to what it has to say. Like, like a frightened animal who's kind of snarling at you, but behind that is something, is a need.
Yeah, that's one of your biggest gifts as a healer, is you always remember to be loving to all those parts of ourselves. That for me is one of the many gifts that you give, because I don't remember to do that on my own.
Oh, you know what? It's really easier to remind other people than you. I mean, I have to remind myself on a daily basis. You know, we're all in this together, this journey of love.
Right.
And I mean, for me, at some level, I feel like the common purpose that we all have as humans, this is obviously my particular lens through which I see life, right, is we are all here to learn to love more deeply. And so at a greater level, if somebody says, I don't know what my purpose is, you know, can give a pat answer to that, to love. It's almost like nothing, everything else is just a particular subcategory of that. Because when you're fully loving yourself more and more, which is a journey, it's not like, as we said, a destination in a day, it's a lifelong process. That's part of that surrendering process. That's part of the stepping into purpose more and more, I feel. And that's the other thing I want to say is that it's not necessary to know that you're living your purpose in order to live your purpose. Like a lot of people on this planet are living their purpose without having any concept of what that even is, without even reading a self-development book ever in their life, without worrying themselves about any of it. They're just being. They are the guy selling vegetables at the corner who just smiles joyfully at you every day. It's the guy that sits whenever I walk past the seafront on his balcony, listening to jazz music and giving a big smile at people every time they walk by. Just thinking of him makes me well up. It's like every time I see him, it's like I connect with our true humanness. I don't know if he has any idea of the gift he's giving the world every single day. And like, to me, when I see him, I can see that he is just serene and he's living his purpose. It doesn't mean he's perfect, doesn't mean he's not human, doesn't mean he doesn't have his own emotions at home and whoever he argues with behind the door. It doesn't mean that we have to be perfect. It doesn't mean that we have to be, in fact, it's impossible. But does that make sense? It's like so many people that we cross paths with get that feeling, get that feeling. And why does it move us? Because it reminds us of how that is also a part of us. So when you look at me, when you said earlier, I look at you and I see you as someone who lives her purpose, blah, blah, blah. When we look at someone and what we see is an aspect of ourselves that's being mirrored back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I can, like, not everyone labels it as purpose, but I can definitely think about people that I see in my life, and I just know that they're authentic, they're content, and they're spreading that joy and that love around. Yeah. And that is the, you know, once you're on this journey of finding love for yourself, and I think you find that for yourself by giving it, because it's you know, you can receive it when you give it, and you can receive it, you know, give it when you receive it.
Big time.
And that's why purpose is important, even if you do it like without labeling it as purpose, because that's what ripples out across the world.
Yes, exactly.
Like, imagine a planet where everyone is doing whatever they want on their balcony. That, like, is their sole expression of like how they want to be spending that time.
Yes,
it'd be exactly. A beautiful place.
Exactly.
I want to go to there. But yeah, I can do my part by being
you can be there right now.
Right.
You are doing it now with these videos, for Christ's sake.
Thank you.
That's an interesting example. What story do you do these videos, for example? If you don't mind me asking.
No, this is a good question. I mean, I love talking about this stuff. And my husband does a lot of these workshops and talks for his, like, the business side, and like their workshops. And one night he was like, you know, you could do the same thing and like lead people on a you know, have like a webinar and talk to people about this. And I think that's maybe what he said, but that's how I interpreted it. I was like, oh yeah, I know all of these amazing people. I love talking to them. You know, half the conversations with my girlfriends I want to record, and it's a two-way, you know, like I give them advice, they give me advice. It's constant. We're looking at things to do in our life. And yeah, it's given, again, like I posted last week, I started doing this for myself. Just, okay, I'm unemployed, I'm at home. People are willing to connect more than ever now because of we're at home. So I thought it would be a good time. And then it just, yeah, I just feel so good doing them. And the like love and recognition and support I've gotten back has been incredible. I'm going to try and encourage the people that share with me privately if they would give public testimonials, because it's just so impactful beyond what I thought. And I think that's another thing about purpose is that surrender and trust to what's calling you, because you don't even know what is going to come back to you.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I've got goosebumps on that. And you have no idea where it's going to lead. That's the other thing. Like, you can try and plan it out like a business plan. Oh, my purpose is going to be blah, 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 and then blah. That's not how it works. It's a co-creation. Like, what you did was you literally shared with the world what you were already doing. You can go and find it. Like, you were already being yourself with your girlfriends, having this openness, co-creating a safety where you could have these conversations, being inspired, being inspiring. And you just what you did do was stepped out and showed it to the world, which takes courage. So courage is always really important when stepping into purpose, because it does involve, if it's that kind of purpose, there's, like we talked about earlier, people just being on their balcony can be their purpose, you know, in that way. But when you feel that calling that says, oh, I could do that. The other thing is like that's like the muse knocking on your shoulder. That's like source knocking on your shoulder. And there's always a moment of choice. I listen to that, I tend to that, which I get excited and it terrifies me at the same time, or I don't. And there's no judgment either way. It's like sliding doors.
Right. I mean, this isn't the first time, I'm sure, you know, like this is the first time that I was excited enough and empowered enough to like pick up the phone and be like, hello. Who's there? Like, I'm gonna like answer the like literally answer the phone call.
That's a really great analogy. And the phone call will always come again. That's the other thing. Like, it's never too late. Doesn't matter if we take 20 years of numbness before we melt enough to take that call. It is never too late. And there is a wisdom to each person's process of how long you have to stay in that chrysalis before you emerge.
Yes. I know Elizabeth Gilbert talks about that in Big Magic. And it's one of Yamanya, the goddess for golden opportunities. It's like, here's your golden opportunity, but if you don't take it, another one's going to come. Like,
I love that. I haven't read that book actually, but it's on my list of infinite number of books I want to read. Amazing.
I think we've covered a lot. But if anybody, you know, has questions or comments too, I don't know what it's.
Are there any questions in the
I'm interfacing through Zoom, so unless people chat, I can't see it, and half the time it gets frozen because of the technology, so I don't get it live.
Do you want me to look at what's happening on the Facebook page?
Well, and the second thing is that I accidentally lived it on my personal page instead.
Oh, well, nothing is by accident.
I know. So I feel like there are people watching, but I can't see them unless they actually say a comment.
Oh, so, well, do you want me to, I feel like I'm sharing it from your personal page, because people might have looked for us on your other page. I love it. There's never an accident. So that's the other thing, is the accidents to happen is part of the purpose thing. The so-called accidents. So I'm just sharing it to my page in case you're trying to.
It's saying there's an error. I don't know. Again, Facebook has been a.
Don't worry. All happening as it's meant to happen. But that's the other thing I wanted to say though, is like just focusing on the next step. So like, you heard the call. You took a step. I don't know exactly what the next step you took was, but you know, I'm guessing you contacted someone, you set up Zoom, whatever. Like, you took the steps. Oh,
okay, Ulrika just love our conversation. Thank you, Ulrika.
So,
right, and I have no idea where this is going or what this is.
Sorry. Sorry, say that again.
I have no idea where this is going or what this.
That's the perfect way. That's perfect. Keep not knowing. And then your mind will sometimes want to know, and it'll try and figure it out, and that's okay. And then just come back to the not knowing and the surrendering, because that's a fertile void place where you can clearly hear the next, either you hear the next download thing of an idea, or someone contacts you and suggests something, and that's how things evolve step by step. And so all we need to do is be present in this moment and just take this current step that we're taking. And keep
that's what I'm doing. So that's great.
Exactly. You are doing it. You are being it. And that's an analogy that might be really helpful to other people watching this who feel overwhelmed. That's the other thing. Overwhelm happens, especially in this age of social media where we see so much going on and so much and so many people and everyone blah, 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 blah. And you can feel like, well, why should I do anything? And who am I? And what, it's all too much. And and just taking one step with whatever feels in alignment because it feels good to you. Like you did something because it felt good to you. That's the other number one thing. Many people follow stuff that they think they should be doing. It's just part of that discovery process of sometimes you have to do that to discover that it doesn't feel good so that we can actually follow what does feel good. So again, everything is part of the process of whatever it needs to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we can end there. I feel better. I hope everybody watching this feels better too. And again, if you just watch the replay and want to comment and give feedback or ask questions, I always love reading people's comments. So I encourage everybody to do that. Sabrina, do you want to share how people can find you?
Yeah. So people are welcome to follow me on Facebook on my public page, whatever it's called. If they just click my name, through which I am doing, you've tagged me, right?
I've tagged your personal name,
yeah. So I'm totally happy with people like clicking follow on my personal profile because that's the bit where they can follow me more easily. I do have a business page as well. I do most stuff on my personal profile, but also I have a group. So if somebody wants to join my free group, they can do that. I could always add a comment to this video.
Yeah, that would be great.
The link. So that's an easy way to follow what I'm doing.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Cricket, for this. It's been so nourishing. It's a mutual nourishing process, and we need so much of this right now. Thank you so much for following your call.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Thank you, everyone watching. Ciao.